So
I think we're going live. Dr. Kim, do you want us to hold the questions
no,
till
I
we go
think
live?
it's actually it's a
David is
echo.
also part of the committee. And we really started off with this, I mean, Shanali can speak about it because
Oh.
she's the founder. So Shanali, if you want to speak, but we started off with an idea, and then, you know, it's grew and grew, and now we're in collaboration with the C20.
Oh.
Shanali, he's Dr. Kim, he's he knows Dr. Bhavani, he's in C20 as well. So yes.
What is C20, please?
20 program? No?
You're muted. I'm sorry, Ingrid. I heard your question. I think it's we're hearing your echo.
You were giving these names of C20 and G20. I don't know any of them. What's the entities? How does that serve your group?
Well, I am interested in
So C20 stands for Civil Society 20, and it's an official engagement group of G20.
More about India, and then I came across one of the 11 engagement groups that is able to do policy recommendations and submit to G20. G20 is a group of 20 countries, and those are the 20 most powerful countries with the highest GDP, meeting every year. CSW to represent.
It's a recording.
So we presented remarks, the anthem, and
yeah, we're just getting it fixed.
Engagement groups. There's Civil 20, Women 20, Youth 20. There are 11 of them. They are the official engagement groups that incorporates these entities to submit policy recommendations annually to G20. So they all come together and they say, hey, this needs to happen in the startup world. This needs to happen in the women's world, environment, to youth and civil society. So then the G20 takes that into consideration. And if it makes sense, they accept it. If not, I mean, well, it doesn't really become an official policy. But these policy recommendations are every year, they put so much work, and they're incredible. And so that's the relationship in terms of Civil 20. So we are directly working, we are collaborating with C20. And this year, it's the chair is Amaji from Amrita University. And I think Dr. Kim, you're connected to Dr. Bhavani. It's an incredible group to be chairing Civil 20 because we are all a part of Civil 20. I mean, civil society. But how many of, I think one of you asked, how many of us do even know what C20 is? We didn't know. Ashley and I didn't know when we started. In fact, actually, David, I don't know if you're on the call, David. It was you who connected us to somebody. Yeah, you're the one who connected us to Sheva and Miriam, who was a part of the policy recommendation committee for Civil 20. And that's when we learned what it was, and we submitted applications to be a part of it, and then we were able to form a collaboration and be an official collaboration with C20 for G20. And that's how we got in terms of the connection. And how does it apply? Again, 50% of the population, they're female. And there's not enough representation. And the word history itself means history. And it's not to blame anybody, but women were not really allowed to write books or hold political positions about 100 years or so ago before that. So it's and we have been very narrowed down on the way we see the world. It's more of a patriarchal society that even men are a part of. I mean, it's not that men, we are all contributing to it. And how can we broaden the narrative? That means we need to know her story. That means we need to amplify the voices of more women.
I vote for that, yes.
And then when we know her story, I think it's about knowing our story. And it's time to know our story. There's a huge imbalancement. And we see that happening with the environment. The environment is really, I mean, we have a climate crisis and people didn't take it serious until this summer, until we all saw how hot it was. But I don't want to keep talking. I wanted to make a discussion. But yeah, just to give it an idea, it's a matter of when women are really in leadership, we really want to show how inclusive it can be. It doesn't mean it's just for women. That means a mother doesn't discriminate. I mean, I love my mother. She doesn't discriminate against like my brother or myself. She includes us no matter what. And that's the kind of relation, the leadership we want to bring forth. Even with Ammaji being the chair of C20, she's so inclusive of all the organizations from around India and from around the world, whoever wanted to be a part of it. She made space, and she gracefully allowed us to be a part and really take our mission and vision to the world. So I think it's really important to have that matriarchy be a part of leadership. It doesn't mean we just have to have all women leading. That would be an imbalancement yet again, because we need the male perspective. It's just a matter of balance. How can we bring balance? Because we all have masculine and feminine energies within us, within all of us. So it's a matter of finding that balance.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please, you guys should talk as well.
Can we introduce ourselves? I think we're a small group. I think we should go around and introduce ourselves. Ingrid, do you want to start? I know you spoke a little bit.
It will be my pleasure to start. My name is Ingrid Wang, and I've been a part of the Agape community in Los Angeles. Reverend Michael Beckwith and I have been working and known each other for, I say, 35, 40 years. And Reverend Michael is the one that introduced me to this group, that sent me an invite. So that's why I'm on the call today. But for myself, I agree that, yes, I think that the empowerment of women is very much a really positive collective effort that we can all engage in to serve the greatest good, not just for women, but men of the, we all have feminine and masculine energies. And when we bring that to the table in the most positive, empowering way, then there's greater communication, greater understanding, and possibly greater collaboration. So if that's in that way, I am happy to continue to support, contribute, and participate in this group because it resonates with my heart. So I love the fact that Shanali, yourself, and Ashley, and also David, from what I hear, you all kind of just got this started. But I applaud you because it takes effort. It takes a commitment, a mindset, and a consistent follow through to even bring it to where you are right now. And that's leadership. And women leadership, yay, that's even more wonderful. We need lots more of that. So having said that, thank you for letting me share. And I'm right now based in the Philippines, but I've actually lived in Hawaii for the past 40 years in Hawaii. But I'm here building a wellness resort. It's all about sustaining health and well-being. And we are building the host would like to unmute you. Am I unmuted or not?
Very narrow. You're good. We can hear you.
Right? Can you hear me? Or am I talking to myself?
We can hear you.
Okay, so my point is, I'm now in the Philippines building wellness centers here because our goal is to help families, individuals, live a healthy, well-being life until we're 100, 120, without being free of diseases and suffering. So that's the one commitment that I've made. The other commitment I've made is that I've joined a group called the Co-op International Business, but it's a group that's on the blockchain. It's a cooperative that is about ending world hunger, ending world poverty. Yeah. So again, these are things that I do that I would love to contribute and share, and whatever else that we can share with each other to love and support and empower each other in this journey towards empowerment of women. Thank you for allowing me to share. And I pass this on back to you, Shanali.
I want to say something, Ingrid. You know, Reverend Beckwith, Michael Beckwith, is absolutely somebody that's near and dear to our heart. He's the one who actually, along with Sister Jenna, really believed in what we were doing. And he said it's called the divine feminine rising. And he gave us the agape stage to record because the UN went digital this year, and the theme was digital. To record our first set of remarks and the anthem. So he's somebody so near and dear to us. So I'm so happy he shared and you're here. And everything you said, I think that's what we call edutainment. We use music, media, arts, and entertainment to create content, experiences, and events. So experiences-wise, I think that's what you're talking about in terms of the wellness retreats. That's an experience that can broaden your perspectives on even wellness. So that's amazing. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Anybody else who wants to go next?
Excuse me, everyone. It's Mark and the tech team here. I just want to ask everyone, because we are getting that echo, if somebody is watching or listening on another device and your microphone's on, that could be one of the reasons, because we've done everything here in the studio. So if everybody can please keep muted unless you're speaking. And if you have another feed or another device that might be on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere taking in the feed, if we could just ask that you cancel that out so there's only one device connected at this time.
Yes, I'm going to mute myself, but it's hard to hear you. Is that Mark that's speaking?
Yes, yeah, and that's okay. We just want to eliminate
unmute,
all possibilities.
I'm going to mute myself.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ingrid. That was so sweet of you to share what you shared. Ashley, you're not unmuted. I hope you come back on, but anybody else who wants to ask us a question?
But
I just want to point out that Marilyn King is here. She's also part of our conscious committee, who has also been so supportive and helping us build Power of Women as well. So we're happy that you are here joining us, MGD.
We need lots more of that.
I know MGD is a two-time Olympian, and she has introduced us to the Olympian mindset. I'm pretty sure every one of us who is watching or here are aware of what the Olympian mindset is. We just didn't know what to call it, but she went and named it. That is having passion and a vision and taking action to really succeed. That's the Olympian mindset. So welcome MGD. Thank you for being here and sharing all that with us. We're excited for your panel, by the way, with all the other Olympians.
And I'll tell you something, I mean, I'm not someone who sits in front of a screen for much time, but this has been, I started when you guys did this morning, so I've been here the whole time. One of the things I'm really excited about is putting together a number of aspects from some of the different programs, because I have a neuroscience background and understand how the mind works in terms of creating results. What I started to see was one of the speakers talked about our ancient history, the divine feminine, and for how many thousands of years all these things that happened, and then more recently with the patriarchy and all of that. And then between a couple of the other presenters, we started to see some of these historic moments when historic empowerment things happened, whether it's in this country or China or wherever. And what my brain did was, if we could literally see a visual of a timeline, and we could see for how long the divine feminine ruled, and then the period of time in which, the patriarchy took over, and then starting to see from a timeline these things that are happening, what I believe will transpire in people's minds, instead of kind of the, oh yeah, we really want to, but it's a long way, and all of that rah mindset. It would create a different picture and a different desire to get engaged. And Barbara, I can see your head going up and down. I have so much resonated with so much of what you've had to say as an educator, so I know you understand what I'm talking about. But Shonali and Ashley, I'm really excited about the future, the moment that this movement is in, and that some of us elders have passed the baton to you younger people, and where it is you're taking it, and the kinds of things we can bring to the fore so people get inspired, engaged, and want to grab the baton and be part of this team. So I'm thrilled by what you have accomplished here. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think it's so important to point what you said. Somebody had to get started so everybody else can join. I think it has been happening for a long time. I think we're just another group. I mean, Ashley and I would say we are two people who believe in what we do, and we just want to get started and hold the space. So all of us can bring what we are doing together, because I think that's the most important thing. Together, we are stronger. And we might not have all the answers by ourselves, but I mean, the collective intelligence is something to really think about. And I mean, collective intelligence is everything. Together, we all have all the answers. We just have to come together and discuss them, create the space so we can share them in a respectful environment where we can recognize each other without trying to impose our own perspectives, but having an open mind to share what we have to share. And using really your heart and your brain to make decisions, not just using your brain to make decisions, using that compassion and love. Thank you, MGD. I know we love you so much.
Well, it comes from the heart, sure, but it's guided by what and how you think about what you care about that moves into action. But one of the things that I don't think that has been underscored enough in this moment with this D conference is that what's different now in terms of all the movements and the women's movement is our ability to communicate with everyone, everywhere, whoever's interested. So we have the ability now to say, we see who you are, we know what you're doing, and we can band together. There is transparency, and we can begin to hold you accountable. So it's a new day on the planet, and this generation of the women's movement is very exciting. And I'm old enough that I think I'm going to get to sit back in the rocking chair and applaud.
That's a good way to put it. Ashley, you're back.
Yeah, it was me who was the echo. Hi, Dr. Kim. Thank you for joining us. Please, we'll have 2 other ones throughout the conference. I hope you can join us.
I'd be happy to hear if he wanted to say anything before he went away today.
I think I need to go leave. Okay.
Oh, I can't hear.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Dr. Kim.
Dr. Barbara Ledger.
It's Leger, but everybody always says it in funny ways. I just wanted to catch Dr. Kim because I thought he had something he wanted to contribute. That's why I raised my hand, because it seemed like he got all excited about something, and then he was waiting. So anyway, it's a great, I've been here like Marilyn since 6:30 this morning, and watching and feeling and making notes, and it's been very powerful. And are you going all night long, like all night? So your programming goes to the other side of the world while we sleep, and this side while they sleep. Is that how you're doing it? Well, all I can say as a former event producer is that you're very bold and brave. And it's such a huge bite you took, and you have a great team, and you're doing really well, and it's an amazing group of people that are assembled here. Michael Beckwith was a teacher of mine 30 years ago, and I just love him. I was so excited to see him here too tomorrow, I guess. And I've learned something from every presentation, even when I thought, oh, this one's not for me. But I sat and listened and made notes, just practicing being open and willing and inclusive in my heart. And I learned something from everyone. The anthem is so rousing that, and I love how you do it. You have different visuals. What else? I think that's it. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot and appreciated it, and practiced a lot too. So thank you both.
Thank you. I want to add something to you. We're going to have a session how the anthem came to be. It's incredible how, again, it's 2 men who really came together along with the power of women to create it. So we will have a session that's talking about it. And to also address Dr. Barbara, it was pretty bold for us. I mean, we have never done a conference. I guess that's why it was, because we never knew how hard it was to do it. So we went head on first, and we decided to do it 48 hours, not even 24 hours. I mean, because we really wanted to, it's more about that being bold and doing it. And I mean, like the anthem starts, impossible says I'm possible. So why not try for it? Why not shoot for the moon? Because even if we miss, we'll land among the stars. Same thing with the climate crisis. It might seem impossible. Let's at least take a shot at it, because we don't have another choice. We don't have another green planet waiting around where all of us could transfer. So being bold to go for it. I mean, we have to believe in it. We have to have hope. So,
well, you're talking to the choir. I'm a couple of generations older than you, and I thought it was pretty bold when I was 26 or 27 to be dealing with inclusivity and gender and sexuality and recycling of all things, and it was radical. it was radical in the 70s. And I remember our little group, we started the second recycling center in California in like 1972 or 3. And people were so convinced that we were crazy, they would drive by while we were putting the green glass in the green bin and the cardboard in the cardboard box. People would drive down, they'd roll down their windows and they'd yell, "You hippie commie!" Those are the worst two things they could say, is hippie and communist. And they'd scream at us for recycling. But you know, it's all relative. When I would go and talk to my kids' schools about, you know, feminism, my kids would say, "Do you really have to do that? You know, could you let me off a block away? You know, could you not come to school and talk about those things?" You know, it's never seems easy. But I'm so glad to see feminism in the story again. Because I've been waiting for the women of the world to rise up and take to the streets, or have a letter writing campaign to Associated Press or something to say we have to find a way to solve our differences differently. I work in Ukraine and I deal with it every day, and it's heartbreaking. And we have the power. I don't know what it's going to take, but there's not enough jails to put us all away. So, you know, I mean, I'm an old marcher. I'm a boots and bootstraps and marching down the street in my old days. And now I'm not against anything. I'm for things. And we have to be for a future that allows us to find our way out of this war that we're in. We have to do that. I don't know how, but if anybody's got ideas, I would say this is a good forum to at least catch them in a sidebar. I know it's not the purpose, but women, mothers and grandmothers of all countries do not want to send their children to war or have to bury them. So I think we ought to do something about this. And I'm getting close to being radical again. So I hope you save me from that, because, you know, I'm a little too old to be that radical as I would like to be. But I could if I had to. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, let's hear for the men.
I know. I was hoping to do that.
Please go ahead.
Oh, we cannot hear you. Or is it just me?
He's not speaking. Andre.
We cannot hear you.
Oh.
In the meantime, we can hear Ingrid.
Yeah, we have Ingrid and Bonita.
Yes.
We cannot hear you either, Ingrid. I think you're on mute.
Yes, I love what each of you are sharing. I love what Shonali was talking about, the anthem. Is there any recording of the anthem or lyrics of the anthem that you would like to share with us? I would love to hear that.
Of course. Well, actually, like I said, we're going to have a segment with one of the writers and producers of the anthem, sharing how it came to be. So we will, I think, Ashley, you have the schedule. We can actually share on our social media when it's going to be, and on our website that will have it. And we'll share the lyrics as well.
Great. I have one other key question. In terms of this gathering, that how often is it? And what would be the ideal scenario? What is the it sounds like it's ongoing 24/7, 365. But I want to know, since I'm calling in from the Philippines, and I want to schedule it so that I could come in and participate on a steady basis. I just needed some parameters of how often does this group meet, what are the time frames? I mean, what is there any kind of scheduling? Please advise.
Ingrid, I'm going to tell you something because you're all here and I'm sure we're going to do more Zoom calls. I mean, there's 2 more scheduled. Let's decide how often we want to meet. I mean, we have something called power-up sessions. Let's come together and decide as a group instead of us saying, hey, we should meet this day, this day. I think let's talk and see how often we want to meet. This is a community, a network we're building globally. So we can all be apart from wherever we are. And we hope that every one of us can take that leadership and create that group even in the local community. So all the other women who might not even know, all the other men who might not even know can be a part of it. So this is just a start. So we this is going on for 48 hours. So I mean, we are now 12 hours away. Now we have about 35 and a half hours to go. And we have some incredible people lined up. So that entire speaker network we want to bring together as a part of the network. One of our keynote speakers that's going to be up is the senior policy advisor and author, Dr. Deepa Narayan. So even her, she have created something called the Chup Circle. So we are going to be partnering together. We want to bring a network together and really start it. This is the rolling out of it. We started the discussion with the event. We want all women and men to be a part of it because that's the little turn we are taking in this women's movement. We're not just demanding for equality. I mean, you demand for something you don't have. We are already so powerful. Let's just step into our power and realize it and then be inclusive of men. Because I mean, I love my brother. I love my dad. And I love such incredible men that has been literally, I mean, half of the people who have been putting together this conference has been men. And we didn't it was not our intention to make it half and half. It's just we were being so true to the mission and the vision. And it's just all the people who believed in this higher vision and mission came together. And it so happens there was balance. There was half of them were men, half of them were women. So I think that's the kind of leadership and perspective we want to bring to the world. When we are truly focused on a shared mission for humanity, because we all need water to drink, food to eat, air to breathe, we will then just automatically align and bring that 50-50 or like half the balance into the leadership making processes, having every person's voice be heard. So let's see, we'll all come together by the last digital town hall meeting. I think we should actually decide how often we want to meet, take the conversation outside of the conference at the end of the 48 hours and really see how we do it.
I see. Can I make some suggestions, please? I would love to see possibly this group, for starters, maybe 3 times a week, every other day, so to speak. And then also maybe the 3 times a week, maybe once in the morning, once in the evening, so that it will accommodate people. You know, I noticed that, you know, if I'm here in Asia, you know, it's middle of the night there in the eastern, you know, East Coast USA. So my point is, if we did this like twice a day on those alternate days, that gives people some choices of when to meet. And then maybe we can all, those of us who would like to, you know, share in the hosting or co-hosting again, so that there's some flexibility. So if for some reason Shanali can't make it that moment, or Ashley or whatever, myself or some of the lovely ladies on the call with us that I love and admire so much. I don't have your names yet because it didn't show up on the thing, but we can all just be part of the co-hosting, and you know, so there's a fluidity, and yet there's we're meeting enough on a like twice a day, every alternate day, so that there's some kind of flow, a consistency and a flow. So that's what I want to suggest.
Thank you, Ingrid. I think let's continue that discussion. And
yes,
and bye, MJD. We saw you leaving. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for that. And let's hear. I know we have Bonita. We want to hear from you, and then I think there's Ambassador Suman. We want to hear from you as well.
Shall we hear from Deandra first?
Can we hear you now?
Yeah.
I'm back. I don't know. Can
Good.
you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Sorry about that. I had to go through my thing, but let me just introduce myself. So, I'm His Royal Highness Prince DeAndre, Duke of Henry-Manteshwar. I am married to His Royal Highness Prince Manvendra Singh Gohil of Rajpipla. We are the first same-sex royal couple married out of India.
Wow.
2013, we've been married. So we're celebrating this year's our 10-year. I was invited and made aware of this through Dr. Sister Jenna. So she reached out to me this morning personally and was like, hey, this is going on. And I was like, perfect, I'll join in. So that's where I come in, and that's a little bit about who I am. So I've been here since 6:30 with everyone else following. And at the very beginning, you asked some questions about, to think about like what the conference is meaning, and I had written answers to that. And so I was let me just pull that up, and then I would like to be able to share that with the esteemed panel based on that question that was asked at the very beginning. So let me just pull up that email, because that was hours ago. So I don't have it, but I have it written down. So I just want to share that from that point there. That will just take me a second just to close this down and pull up the right thing here. And I'll just read it out to us here. So here it is. So joining us in holding space for one earth, one family, one future at the Power of Women's Digital Conference. Dear conference community, as we come together for this inspiring digital conference showcasing the power of women, it's essential to reflect on the profound concept of holding space. This conference is more than just a gathering. It's an opportunity for us to hold space for one another, for our shared earth, and for a future that unites us all. What does it mean to hold space? Holding space is about creating a safe and nurturing environment where everyone's voices are valued and their experience and acknowledged without judgment. It's a gesture of empathy, compassion, and understanding, fostering a sense of belonging and unity. One Earth. We recognize that our planet is our shared home, a fragile ecosystem that sustains us all. Let's discuss how we, as women, men, allies, can lead the way in protecting and preserving this beautiful earth for the future generations. One family. In our diverse and interconnected world, we are one global family. Let's embrace the strength in our differences and explore how the power of women can break down barriers, promote inclusivity, and build bridges of understanding. One future. Together, we can shape a future where gender equality, justice, and sustainability thrives. Let's discuss the actions we can take today to pave the way for a brighter, more equitable tomorrow. Join us in this empowering journey of holding space and envisioning one earth, one family, one future. Together, we are the change makers, the leaders, and the visionaries who will make the difference. With unity and hope. So that was my answer.
Wow. That was so beautiful. And especially coming from, like you said, it's the power of women breaking down for all of us, that those barriers. It just that transcends genders. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That was so beautiful.
Thank you so much. And
that was
the audience out there, this ripple through the atmosphere of this world.
That was the first question that was asked, or one of the very first questions that was asked. So that was the one I took on. and to the esteemed panelists who have spoken today, amazing. I still resonate with a scientist. I believe she's a scientist from the Kingdom of Jordan,
Professor Hanan.
And all that work that's going into taking biology to space and bringing it back down. I'm just like, it's just, we live in such a time of information and sharing, in which that something like this conference, bringing all these beautiful leaders together and showcasing their talent. I was just like really pleased to be able to just be, a witness of it. And so I will yield my time to the rest of the esteemed colleagues to continue the conversation, but thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. That was so beautiful. Oh my God. And we are honored that you shared that such a beautiful piece with all of us. I wish we could put it again so all our conference attendees can hear.
How beautiful. We want to hear from
I have a letter. I'll send it over. Like, I'll send the letters to you.
Please do. Please do.
I know Bonita has her hand up. She's been having her hand up. We need to hear Bonita now.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to acknowledge you, Shanali and Ashley, your combination of media and educating with media and art, and it's just wonderful, enriching education that engages people, and it's something that it'll be a model for. It will be for me and the projects that I'm up to, very similarly. In fact, we may be teaming up. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Bonita Banducci, and my primary expression right now is teaching in the graduate engineering program at Santa Clara University in Silicon Valley, a class called Gender and Engineering. And what I focus on is bringing language to the competencies that relational people bring, and meaning that we have culturally and gender-wise, they're more individualistic people and they're more relational people, and that's not absolute. But the relational thinking, I like to frame as competencies rather than energy. I think it's fun, it's great to talk about feminine energy, but I have found that in the workplace, in the mindset of logic and tools, and how do we get things done, a lot of people don't understand what do we do with energy. But if you tell them these are relational competencies, oh, I can use a competency. So one of the things that I've identified, and this was from my own experience as an entrepreneur before I pursued this as a sociologist, but my original research in Silicon Valley was with Sun Microsystems way back in the 90s. When Carol Bartz was second in command of Sun Microsystems, I interviewed her. Actually, one of the executives had wanted an offsite on what is the contribution women make that could be the strategic advantage in the global marketplace. And you can see that that's a very positive, way. What's the value of women? How can we value women? Anyway, I interviewed Carol Bartz and as to what she brought to the executive team. And she said that she brought an ability to see all the ramifications of a given issue, which is what we call systems thinking. And yet she said that for the most part, the men would take the highest priority problem, the highest priority solution, put the solution against the problem, and fight any fires that happen. She said, I like to prevent fires. For the most part, the men would take the highest problem. I know we're getting feedback now, so I'll just try and talk over it.
Hi, Tom. There you go.
So she said, I like to prevent fires. And right there, I thought, oh, fire preventer. That's different. We always think of leaders as firefighters. We need fire preventers. And now in this day and age, fire preventers, we're even listening to the indigenous people in California to help prevent fires. because they are also more relational thinkers. But in any case, that was my big aha. There's systems thinking. And then she added, in the, about 10 seconds, she added, for this, I'm considered to be not a team player. And, I was stymied. Well, of course, because she's getting into other people's turfs. She was in charge of worldwide operations, but she's getting into R&D and finance and, HR. She's getting into other people's turfs, and she's scattered and all over the place. She's bringing a more complex solution that takes more time. And then, of course, she's just not doing things the way other people do things. So it's all understandable that these relational competencies have been misunderstood and even seen as being incompetent. And that's what my work has been, to name these competencies. One of my other favorite ones, I'll just be real quick and then I'll let other people talk. But one of my other favorite ones is, do you all know what devil's advocate is? No, which is pretty much like, we'll bulletproof an idea. An idea is brought up and we'll question it, we'll poke holes in it to see where the weaknesses are. Well, this was with Deborah Tannen's work years ago that identified in her video that the more relational people, the people that look through the lens of how do we connect, how do we build relationship, rather than how do we compete, they want to play angel's advocate. They want to build an idea.
I love that.
And we need to identify these competencies so that they can be understood and valued and promoted and included in what leadership is. So that's my way of, I have a whole schema of that. And I would love to introduce that to you all. And I'm teaming up with Barbara Annis, who is a author of Gender Intelligence. She wants to bring my work into her work, which is using brain science for understanding the differences, like that often women have a more high context way, a more divergent way of thinking, which is consistent with this systems thinking. And men often have a more focused, convergent way of thinking. And we need to be able to use both, but not misunderstand each other. Just like I've had women say that devil's advocate they've dropped ideas. I've had women say that they've left their companies and left engineering because of devil's advocate. So anyway, that's an introduction. More to be said, more to be shared. And I started to say that Barbara Annis and I are planning on a major initiative for belonging. And you have such a great model. I already informed her and several other people. And I presume, I have cats on my table, they're part of my life. I presume that all the video will be available on the website, that you'll have it available. Isn't that true? Okay, great.
It's correct.
Right. Okay.
It's
well, thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
You should have been one of our speakers. We need to hear what you have to say.
If you need me to fill in, let me know. But otherwise, another time. Okay.
I know. I mean, even the poem, I think what you shared, even you incorporating arts to what DeAndre shared, to everything, like, this is beautiful. I want to say something, relational competencies. Same concept, different words to express it so everybody understands. I think we need to start incorporating that, Ashley, right away to our vocabulary, and so that way everybody can understand the same thing we're talking about. So thank you so much, Monica. I think you shared so many amazing things. Ashley was right. You could have been a speaker.
We need to hear from Ambassador Suman and Tom Schneider as well a little bit before we go.
I know we have like 6 minutes. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Ambassador Suman, do you want to say something, or Tom?
Greetings to everyone. It's a very auspicious event. I'm respect to all honorable leaders and honorable volunteers. Together we can to make a peaceful world. I'm working with United Nations as an international event volunteer and also International Director of SDC, La Baritonlos International Diplomacy Organization of Italy. I am also living in France, but today I am very excited to all leaders as a great speech and share each another. So our great contribution for sustainable development and climate change. Day by day, world have to face so many crises, and also we have to respect women's and gender equality. Thank you to all, and nice to meet you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, since someone brought up the subject of devil's advocate here, I'll take the conversation out with another piece, which is that in 1971, when I was 19 years old, in order to get into college, I had to get a draft card, and you not only had to have one, you had to have it on your person, and no women in that time were ever drafted, and they weren't even sought. And the last couple of weeks, I've been out on the West Coast where I came as a draft dodger to the Queen Charlotte Islands and kind of connected with some other people. But it's, they think that conscription, involuntary conscription, happened in Africa, or whatever. But really, people Shanali's age and Ashley's age often don't really understand that within my lifetime, and I'm not that old, it happened. And so, I'm not saying to give men a break here or anything, but we've had some injustices done to us too. And I, have friends and family that, were never the same. And I had to make a choice at 19 to leave the country and not really know that whether or not I was ever going to come back, and who I was going to see. And, my conservative Republican parents were pretty supportive. That's how unpopular it was. But, they missed my grandchildren. They got to see their grandchildren once or twice, a year. But, people don't understand that. And now in Switzerland and Israel, everybody's got to do a year of service or 2 years or something like that, and male and female, and so it's more equal. But I just that part of war is it's not known that was a big part of our lives. Other than that, what I wanted to say was that early on, and I remember whether it was Ashley or Shanali, but in some of your opening comments, the most meaningful thing at this conference said that, peace begins with me. For years, as I've been promoting Rotary peace things, I've always said peace begins at home. Deal with your other Rotary clubs. And, we have a Mexican and a English-speaking Rotary club, and I've been doing that. But what you said is peace begins with me, not peace begins with us. And then it not only begins inside of me, it begins with my breath. And I know that maybe that sounds esoteric or something, but it really spoke to me. It really helps me to ground myself in, what I'm doing in the peace movement here. Oh, anyway, those are my thoughts there. Excuse me.
Thank you, Tom.
How beautiful. Beautiful. We all shared a little bit of our perspectives, and we contributed to this conversation, making it so rich. This is what it is to hold space for one another. We're spread across different time zones, different parts of the world, but we still made the time to come together, get to know each other, and really connect. And this is really what Power of Women is all about. And thank you for coming in here and being a part of the conversation. And of course, we want to invite anybody else to participate. We have 2 other Zoom rooms as well, incorporated in the conference. So we'd like to keep the conversation going.
I would like to thank Tom for sharing from your heart and being vulnerable. I really appreciate that. I stayed a Canadian for the same reason, to be able to take my son if I needed to back home. So, you know, these things, this is just one more good reason why war is obsolete. You know, it's not a healthy way to handle most everything. And so you've lived with a lot as a result of that choice. And thank you for bringing it to the room, because it isn't often brought here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
glad I could give you that perspective.
Oh, well, you know, this part of this 1 hour Zoom discussion was also going to involve sharing the polling results, but maybe we'll just leave it for the next time, just to keep you coming back, because this was such a great discussion and getting to know all of you. So much love, so much deep respect for all of you, and thank you for coming here and really, you know, enjoying the program and getting to connect. This is really what it's all about.
Thank
Ashley,
you so much, everyone.
when we do get the poll results, you might want to record the conversation that comes out of it. It doesn't look like you're recording this. So just
it's actually been broadcasted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we go back to the website for the rest of the conference, right, for now, right? Okay.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing being streamed live for quite a while before I joined you. I just couldn't, you know, I got my first computer at 42, not when I was 4 years old like Shanali. So it took me a while to figure out how to be here. But yes, it was going out live. I was listening.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you. So much love. Please join us in the next one.
There ain't no stopping the unstoppable. Don't forget, impossible spells impossible. Gonna tell myself I am. Gonna tell myself I can't do anything. I'm turning history into her story. Here tonight. We gotta live it right. We're the mothers and daughters, sisters and queens. If we lift up each other, we can achieve anything. We're the ones who are gonna make the change. We're the ones who are gonna flip the page. Spread love
Dr. Sylvia Whitlock, welcome to the Power of Women Digital Conference. You are a trailblazer who shattered barriers as the first woman to serve as the president of Rotary Club. Your journey is an inspiration. Your insights will undoubtedly enrich our mission of amplifying women's voices and broadening perspectives through edutainment. Dr. Sylvia, we are honored to have you join us today. Please welcome once again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. Really, to talk to you about a little bit about the edge of tomorrow, which is where we are. I call it the edge of tomorrow. The tomorrow that I'm talking about is going to be the tomorrow when we no longer have polio in the world. You know, there's never going to be a tomorrow when we don't have COVID, I don't think. But we're going to take care of polio. It's something we've been working on for many, many years. It's also a tomorrow when women will have been in Rotary 50 years, almost 50 years. Something we didn't think would ever happen. And I'll tell you a little bit about how it happened. I was working as an elementary school principal in a small town named Duarte, a little town, just a little bit east of Pasadena, where the Rose Parade comes from every year. And, you know, as most principals do, you're curious about the kind of community you're working in and you want to know about it. So I made an appointment to talk to the superintendent of schools, who was also the president of the Rotary Club, but I didn't know any of that then. So I went down to talk to the superintendent of schools, and my question was, what do I need to know about this community so we can serve the kids well? And he said to me, you don't need to worry about this community because we have a Rotary Club here. Rotary takes care of everything. Well, that meant nothing to me. I didn't know anything about Rotary. I knew about Kiwanis. I knew about Elks. I knew about So Optimist. You know what Kiwanis means? Kiwanis means waiting to get into Rotary. Well, that's a joke that was told me by somebody who was in the Kiwanis Club. And it was really interesting. Well, I learned about Rotary. What the superintendent said was, we have a club here, and he described Rotary International. We're going to invite you to be a member. Our one concern is we don't have any women in the club yet. So I have to go and talk to the district governor, the governor of the club. And so he made an appointment to talk to the governor, and he went and presented his story. And the district governor agreed with him that women would be a help in the club. But he said, you know what? I don't know how we're going to do this. So I suggest that when you register these women with Rotary International, you don't use their whole names. You just use their initials. Hey, those of us who are Rotarians know that that didn't pass the four-way test, did it? Because it was designed to deceive. So Dick invited 3 women, 2 principals and a journalist, to join the Rotary Club. And we were duly registered with our first initials so that, you know, S. Whitlock could have been Stephen Whitlock, M. Elliott could have been Michael Elliott, or whatever. That's how we were registered with Rotary International. And we got involved doing all the things that Rotarians do. You know, Easter baskets, cancer survivors, all the rest of it. And then we had the 25th anniversary of the Rotary Club of Duarte. And you know what happens when you have an anniversary or a milestone. Rotary sends representatives to help you celebrate. And so the people came from Evanston to help us celebrate our club. And of course, during the event, the women were introduced as Rotarians. And the representatives from Evanston said, We don't have women in Rotary. We're introducing these women as Rotarians. We don't have women in Rotary. And somebody said, hey, this club does. Well, you could tell the representatives were in shock. But they stayed until the end of the party, and they went back to Evanston and reported that this renegade club had women members. And if you think the mail was fast then, you should have seen how fast we got a note from them telling us three things. Women are not in Rotary. You need to ask the women to leave Rotary. If the women don't leave Rotary, stop calling yourself a Rotary Club, because you're not a Rotary Club. Rotary clubs don't have women. Well, we listened. The club members listened. The men in the club listened. And they thought, we don't want to ask the women to leave. Heck, the women were doing more than half the work in the club. So Bill Brooks, who was worked for City of Hope at the time, said, I know what we'll do. We won't ask the women to leave, but we'll just call ourselves the ex-Rotary Club of Dwardy. And so we had a Rotary pin. I wish I had one to show you. We had a Rotary pin with an X over it. And we became the ex-Rotary Club of Dwardy. And you know something? We were the ex-Rotary Club of Dwardy for 11 years, but I'll tell you about that later. Rotary said, that's fine, but I tell you what, you're going to have to give up your charter. And so right to our breakfast meeting, they sent a representatives from Evanston to take our charter. And we had to surrender our charter because they weren't kidding. We're not going to be a Rotary Club. So we thought, okay, you don't have a choice. The International says your charter is no longer valid. You turn it in. So we gave up our charter, but we continued to do the things we had learned to do as Rotarians. Reading for the schools, providing cancer baskets for survivors, and all of those things. The only thing we didn't do was international projects because, of course, we didn't have Rotary's cooperation to help us do that. But we did everything but that. But one of our members said, you know, I bet we could take this to the courts. I bet we could go to the court with this. It's a problem to get women into Rotary. And so we gave international notice that we were going to go to the courts. And the first thing international did was petition that it be heard in the courts, because they didn't want it heard in a local court. They wanted it heard in not in a superior court, but an international court, because there had been a case there where a club in New York had been petitioning to get equal rights for inviting people, associational rights. And so they said, federal court is where we need to go with this. But the federal court said, no, this needs to be heard in Superior Court. And so it was heard first in the Superior Court in California. It didn't take long for the Superior Court to rule that Rotary was right in saying women couldn't join, that they were right. And so, we thought, who's going to fight over women coming into a club to do some good in the world? Well, Rotary did, and the Superior Court backed them up. And so we thought, we can't do this now. This is serious stuff here. It's getting serious. And so our attorney, who also was a Rotarian in a club in Arcadia, said, I need to look this up. So he went and he looked it up and found out that there was a law, not just in California, but in a lot of states, that really forbade discrimination in public accommodations. And Rotary was considered a public accommodation at the time. At that time, more than 80% of the members had their dues paid by their employers. And so he went back to the Court of Appeals, and the act that he used was called the UNRU Act, UNRUH, the UNRU Act, which forbade discrimination in public accommodations. And the Court of Appeals listened and agreed with him. And so they reversed the ruling of the Superior Court. Well, this was really interesting because, you know, this is a California appellate court, and this is reversing a decision that came down from California. So this was the year that I was coming in as president of my club. You know, this is way back when. And the California court said I could do it. And so, you know, what happens to presidents who are coming in? They get invited to pets. And so I was invited to pets with, you know, the normal invitation that Rotarians send to their members when they're invited to pets. And they didn't even bother to change the wording. They told me where and when the training would be. And they said, be sure and bring your coat and tie because directory pictures will be taken. Well, heck, you know, this is what went out to men. Here I am, one woman. So I took my coat and tie. And there were 290 men at that training and one woman, only one woman. And it was interesting because the best part of that was during restroom breaks, what do you think the hallway looked like? Oh my goodness, we were at the Garden Grove Hotel down in Garden Grove, and during restroom time, there's long lines outside the men's restroom and nobody in the women's restroom. I would go in the women's restroom and I would come out and I'd say, you guys can go in there now, nobody else is here. And they would go in. However, during the training, during which there were no women speakers, we were told that Rotary International was going to appeal the appellate court ruling to the United States Supreme Court. I couldn't believe they were going to, because, you know, I was a school principal. The United States Supreme Court took care of Roe versus Wade, which has gone the way of all flesh, right? Or they took care of the Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas, you know? And so I thought, United States Supreme Court, I didn't think they would hear it. But see, what I was not looking at was the fact that this was a civil rights issue. It was discrimination. And so I took furious notes. I went back to Duarte. We changed the name of our club to the Ex-Rotary Club of Duarte, you know, and because one of the trainers talked about our club as the mouse that roared. He said it's just a little club making a big noise. And he called us the mouse that roared. So we became the Rotary Club of Duarte, ex-Rotary, the mouse that roared. And we went back and we continued to do our business and we just waited to see what would happen. Well, it didn't take long, and this is time to go on. It didn't take long for the Supreme Court to really take the case. They did take the case, because it was a civil rights issue. And in May 1987, 11 years after all this started, the Supreme Court ruled that Rotary and all other clubs like Rotary had to accept women. There could be no discrimination, no gender discrimination, and they gave us all the rules for that. And so that's the first news that Rotary got that said they have to have women. And of course, after that, it had to go to the Council on Legislation, and it went there twice. They had to vote on it 2 times, because the first time it came up, it didn't come up as if women were going to be in Rotary. It was, did the Duarte Club violate Rotary's bylaws by inviting women? You know, of course we had. But the next time it was written, and I learned when I became a representative to the Council on Legislation how to fix those things so they say what you want them to say. And so the Council on Legislation passed it, because in the beginning, the appellate court ruling was incumbent only on California. But now when it came from the Supreme Court, it was all of the United States. And from the Council on Legislation, it became the entire Rotary world. And that's how women came to be Rotary members. Okay.
Wow. What a story. I joined Rotary for the first time. This is my first day as a Rotarian. Just to hear the backstory of how women were even allowed to be accepted, this is just mind blowing. And this was what, Sylvia, 50 years ago?
This was 1987 was the Superior Court ruling. 1987. So that's almost 50 years.
Not even, it's about 36.
It's 40, a little over 40 years, yeah.
Oh my God. This is actually.
You have to count the 11 years that I was a Rotarian, an ex-Rotarian.
We had come a long way because, we had Jennifer Jones as our past president.
Right.
For Rotary International. So, wow, just to think that. I think now it's over, 30% of the club, they're women?
Yeah, 30%. Yeah, 30%. That's 30% in the US. It's less than that around the world. But it's about 30% in the US. So you have lots of room. There are lots of women you can invite to grow your clubs. So just keep on inviting them. They do good stuff. And they pay attention to detail, and they take care of a lot of things that men don't want to do. So, you know what? Women are out there in the schools, they're in the workaday world, they're in construction places, they're in hospitals, they're everywhere. Why not Rotary? Why not Rotary? Yeah. So.
Thank you so much. I think you have what you just started innocently, how can I serve the community? Now it's a global solution you found for all of us. So thank you, Sylvia, and thank you for sharing such a captivating story with all of us.
It's been my pleasure, and hope you have a really good conference. It's been really good. I look forward to hearing what's going on.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to continue talking to you even after the conference to learn so much from you. Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Feel free anytime.
The theme of Power of Women embodies collaboration through edutainment across diasporas through the collectives alliances that support positive global change.
Hi, everybody. I can't tell you how excited I am today. As a young girl, we're always given things to play with as children, right? And we're given dolls. I was graciously given things to build with in my house. And so I was able to learn how to think outside a box and build something new. I went and took my kids to see the Barbie movie the other day, and I was reimagining what that space looks like for us to build a new paradigm for us as women. One of my favorite plays right now is Hamilton. And I love Hamilton and was discussing Hamilton with a friend of mine. And he said that his favorite part of Hamilton is talking about the room where it happens. And he always wanted to be in the room where it happens. And then we went into discussion about building the room where it happens. And today I get to build a room where things are going to happen. I have been blessed to be able to curate this amazing conversation with these amazing women who have not only been mentors to me, but that you all have been mentors to women and girls across the world since the beginning of your career. And so I don't know if any of you all really realize, so when each of your names are spoken individually, feelings exude, right? Feelings of admiration, feelings of joy and respect. And I get those feelings every time I get to be in space with you all. And so to have you all here at the same time, I'm fangirling. I'm sorry. I'm kind of excited. I'm it's a little pat myself on the back moment that this was able to happen. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And so, but I'm going to talk a little bit about each of you right before I introduce who you are. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Awesome.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to start where I started earlier with my dear friend Agnes. Agnes Agnes comes to us directly from my heart. We met in New Orleans doing some collaborative work. It's very interesting, all the collaborations that have happened with each person. But Agnes and I met in New Orleans doing some collaborative work with other people in New Orleans, Black folks who are really working to restructure the paradigm of the city and the state in the best way we can from the sectors that we're in. Agnes is the chief strategist at McBride Sisters, marketing director. She can program officer. Agnes, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you come from?
Sure. So I work with McBride Sisters Wine Company, but specifically as their Chief Impact Officer for McBride Sisters She Can Fund. What we do is we provide women scholarships who are looking to excel in the wine industry. I am from San Francisco, California. Father's Nigerian, mother's from Mississippi. It's quite an interesting mix. I met the sisters while living in San Francisco. None of us quite fit in. And years later, here we are, we're changing the world together. So I'm just blessed that they chose to take me along for the ride, and what a ride it is.
I love it. Thank you so much, Agnes. So I'm going to jump right to Robin, since you are we're talking about McBride Sisters. Robin, I don't know if you know, but when I first started doing this work, we used to do a TV show called She Shows Up that we're now producing internationally. But the very first few episodes were done in a bar in New Orleans, Second Vine Wine. And Second Vine Wine would give us Black Girl Magic.
I didn't know that, but I know Second Vine very well.
Yes. And we would sit there and have conversations about Black women's issues around hair, politics, what does it mean to raise Black boys? And we would drink Black Girl Magic and toast to Black Girl Magic every week. And so I've been a fan ever since. And so to now be a She Can part of the She Can family, I will say, in so many multiple ways. I just appreciate your vision, your ingenuity, you and your family. And so, Robin, do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. And thank you. And we are also a fan of yours now as well. I didn't know that background. That's amazing. But I am Robin McBride, and I'm the co-founder of McBride Sisters Wine Company that I founded with my sister, Andrea, about going on 18 years ago now. And we are the largest Black-owned wine company. We're also the largest women-founded wine company now. And as I'm sure a lot of people can imagine, wine has not traditionally been very diverse and has not been women-led. So we have, experienced a lot of things over the past 17 or 18 years, which led us in 2019. And we're the founders of Black Girl Magic Wines, McBride Sisters Collection Wines, and She Can Wines. And in 2019, when we launched She Can Wines, we also launched McBride Sisters She Can Funds, which Ms. Uboma is the Chief Impact Officer of. So I'm the chair of McBride Sisters She Can Fund, as well as McBride Sisters Wine Company, and based here in the Bay Area.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. I appreciate it. Justine. So Justine Lucas, we've been friends for about a couple of years now, part of another group of women coming together to do some collaborative work and collaborative understanding and collaborative building. I met Justine. Some people within that group said, go meet Justine, and I did, and it's been incredible ever since. Justine's work spans the globe. Her ability to really contextualize what's going on with women and girls across different genres globally has been impressive and incredible to be a person to witness and a friend to collaborate on. And so, Justine, do you mind? And is starting a new venture. And so, Justine, do you mind telling us and what you're doing?
Of course. Thank you so much, Nia, for bringing us all together. I'm just honored to be in conversation with you all. As Nia mentioned, I just founded a social impact advisory called Q15 Impact. Essentially, I build strategies and partnerships and pathways for companies, for foundations, for nonprofits, for individuals to achieve massive societal impact. Prior to that, I was the executive director of Rihanna's Clara Lionel Foundation for 7 years. And as Nia mentioned, I've done work all over the globe. I've been a part of justice movements my whole career, from human rights work in Cameroon to reproductive health access to criminal justice reform, to climate justice in the Caribbean. I've had the chance to work alongside some amazing leaders. I am currently in Brooklyn. That's where I'm based. I'm originally from Chicago, and just excited to be here today.
I love it. Thank you so much, Justine. So, Teresa, the reason why I kept you last is because you are probably the one closest to my root and my footing. When I was a baby organizer, didn't even know if I had leadership capacity. I don't know if you know that when I wrote Citizen She, I wrote it for someone else to be in leadership. Teresa gave me guidance and would, like I said it earlier, but I'm gonna keep on saying, I would answer my calls in the car, just to teach me where it went from a 1-pager to a 20-pager to a 20-pager with a budget. And so the reason why Citizen She exists is because of mentors like Teresa investing in me before there was even no one even knew there was anything to invest in. And so, Teresa, I am grateful, and I'm also part of the Miss family. And so, Teresa, do you mind telling us who you are and how you come into this room?
Sure. I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing it. And I'm super thrilled to be on this panel with these women. There's nothing better and no way better to spend your time than with women who are lifting up each other and lifting into the future. And I'm super excited about that. And that's why I support you. I'm Teresa Younger, and I'm the president and CEO of the Ms. Foundation for Women. I am the longest serving woman of color CEO in Mrs. history. Ms. is 50 years old, and I've been with the foundation for 10 years. And the work of the foundation is a public feminist foundation that supports women and girls, predominantly women and girls of color, to build movements and make change that needs to happen in the world. And we really live in a place of trust. So all of our work is considered trust-based philanthropy. And one of the things that I have done as a woman of color is I've stepped back and I've said, how are we making sure that we are modeling the world we want it to be? How are we changing philanthropy? How are we investing our money? How are we trusting the leadership of activists throughout the United States and in the U.S. territories? And how are we building also our team at the Ms. Foundation, which was started by Gloria Steinem 50 years ago, and now it is led by an all-women of color leadership team and is led by grassroots organizers all over the place. I oftentimes say I am an Air Force brat who grew up knowing more about farming than feminism, and thought GS meant Girl Scouts, not Gloria Steinem. So I grew up in North Dakota, and my parents still live there. And so I grew up in a space where I was the only one a lot of times and needed to introduce people to who I was and what I was doing. I also grew up as a Girl Scout. So I do get up every day just trying to make the world a better place. And that is consistent with our work. And then I always like to throw in that I now have Gloria Steinem on speed dial. So that helps round out the picture.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So this is like the best pot of gumbo that I could have curated and made a with, because this is going to be incredible. So each of you, I'm going to dive right in because we're going to go, Justine, we're going to go deep fast. And so one of the things that is really impressive about each of you is that you all move outside of any paradigm that people consider to exist for women and girls. Each of you are entrepreneurs in that you are the first, the most sustainable, the longest lasting, right? And that means that you have to move outside of traditional strategies, right? So how have each of you personally used creative strategies to reimagine your influence on global power structures? Who would like to go first? I'm going to call on you, Justine. You're loving me right now. You're using all that ingenuity to rebuild right now. So how did you make that shift from, going out on your own right now?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. And I think for where I'm at right now, the opportunity to build something that was representing my values and the change that I hope to create in the world was incredibly exciting. I think Teresa alluded to it. The nonprofit sphere needs change. There needs to be we need to be moving differently. We need to be working differently. And when you asked this question, the first thing I thought of was my time in Cameroon. And Nia and I have been connecting a lot about work in West Africa. And I had the great chance to work for a grassroots human rights organization while I was there. And the time that I was there really taught me most of the lessons that I carry through my career. I was 25 when I was there, and there happened to be an incident of torture in the local prison. And I spent that year working with the incredible team that was in this small town called Kumba on trying to get the prison superintendent prosecuted for torture. And in a country that has a dictatorship and faces such intense corruption, the creative strategies that were necessary to get that done were many. You know, we did a lot of creative things to get the facts on what had actually happened in that incident. We had to sneak into the prison. We had to talk with, different people that were engaged with the prison. We had to write an extensive report that was based in both local law and international human rights law. Then we had to get that report in front of all levels of government, which I know so many of you do such incredible policy and advocacy work, but getting people to pay attention and taking it to the top echelons of leadership, that was probably one of the most difficult things I had to do so early in my career, but it taught me so many of the lessons around how to get creative, how to create change, and how to be really grassroots, roll up your sleeves to get things done.
I love that so much. And I'm going to jump to you, Teresa, on this question to piggyback off of what Justine said, because you all both kind of like navigate what are considered traditional structures, right? Philanthropy, legal work, when we talk about, all the other pieces that you all move as a Girl Scout, right? Those are traditional structures, but you have moved it differently than other people I've seen. So
Right.
how do you use creativity to move in those spaces?
Well, I think one of the things I oftentimes say is if it was easy, somebody else would have figured it out a long time ago. None of what we're doing is because it's the easy thing to do. And there is no right or wrong answer. And I know, having followed many of the women on this panel, we take the risk. And so how do you think outside of the box, which is the best part of the question, to make change happen, which is to look at it from a place of inquiry, not just a place of critique. So, what do we want it to look like? And then how long are we willing to invest to get it to where we want it to be? And those are some of the questions that I asked. And even at Ms., there are not many women of color leaders running, and there weren't 10 years ago when I started, running national foundations, raising the money, moving the money, trusting the grantees in the field and the partners in the field to do what they felt needed to happen, not what we dictated to them, and to say, we've got to just try. And if this doesn't work, it's okay. And being honest enough to know that, to say and to know that we don't always have the answers, but we're willing to try and put together a format or a shape to test it out in. And that's what I've done. That's what I've done with philanthropy. Call it out, but call it out with the solutions for what it can be, and what. Who's doing it successfully? Not that everybody needs to do it the same way.
It's real. I love that. I love that so much. And Robin, you didn't have a lot of examples of how to do this work, especially, with the wine industry, there's not very many women. There's not very many women of color at all. And so how did you come up with the idea to move in this way when there wasn't a space for you to touch, overwhelmingly touch as a structure on how to do this and how to move?
Yeah, well, we definitely didn't have a whole lot of people that we could find easily anyway. We learned later on that there definitely were people like us who had been in this space, but didn't quite know how to access them. And so when we started our business, it really was because me and my sister are just kind of geeky and nerdy about wine. We both grew up in wine regions. My sister grew up in New Zealand. I grew up in Monterey, California. So we grew up around wines, wine country, agriculture regions. And so when we started our business, it really was about that love and that interest that we had in the product. And when we took the step to start our business together, we were a little bit naive, I think, about just how archaic the industry was and how far behind pretty much everything else that I can find it was in terms of progress with diversity and women leaders and Black and brown people who were in the spaces. And so once we started to see how much work needed to be done in the space, we very much kind of shifted our thinking and our direction about our business. And so, making wine isn't easy, and making it at scale as we do now is even harder. But our toughest job by far has been advocating for both the consumer, who we think has the right to access, all products that they want, even when it's produced by non-traditional producers, and for other women and Black and brown people in business. And we have found the best way to do that is by being seen as business owners in the wine industry, being excellent at what we do, and being loud and not conforming. And it took us a really long time to get comfortable with the idea of being sort of representatives in this space, in wine and in business. But ultimately, strategically, we understand the importance of what it means to be seen, to have a successful business that's growing year over year, to have an impact on our retail partners' accounts, and also for the consumers, and how that motivates other people in wine and other people in business. So a big part of our strategy is really, it almost comes down to content at a lot of times, making sure that people see us and see our products and see how you can be successful in this space. And also to, create a precedence. A lot of times when we're going into national accounts buyer meetings, they haven't sat with a Black-owned wine company before, right? So we're doing the work on the industry side and the consumer side, really to make people like ourselves commonplace in business and in this space.
I love it. And I will tell you, one of the things that's becoming commonplace in my life is going to restaurants and finding McBride flights. Do you know that's the thing? It's McBride flights, and you can get a little flight tasting of each different kind of wine, and then it ends with a glass of Prosecco. It's been my thing.
Wow. Yeah, I actually haven't personally seen that, but I love it. So you have to tell me where that is, because I need to go there.
Absolutely. I will give you the address of the first place I went to in LA.
Okay.
Agnes, one of the things that I love about you and the work that you do is you kind of put all this together. Because when we talk about philanthropy, we're also talking, and Black women led spaces, we're also talking about, we're business people as well, not always seen as business people, as leaders of nonprofits, but that's what we are. But you are leading this group of us that are all women entrepreneurs, and all of us think outside the box. And then you also remind us constantly that she can. And so how do you work creatively to facilitate the collaboration that we all do within the spaces that you influence?
Sure. So I know that I'm uniquely positioned because I've been tasked this responsibility by, the largest found Black-owned wine company and the largest growing women-founded wine company owners. I'm able to go to them and ask them questions directly as it relates to, how did you all scale your business? When the sisters tapped me in 2020 to build or expand the fund, that was literally the first email question that I sent over. And then I just remember either sister, can't remember if it was Robin or Andrea, saying, let's talk about this after, XYZ calls. And I just went directly into it with them. How did you know that you were a success? How did you set your benchmarks? What were the metrics year over year that you looked for to pursue funding from banking institutions, so on and so forth. So that's really the organic way that we go about whether it's grant making, whether it's direct scholarships to Black women entrepreneurs, whether it's giving scholarships just to women in general who are seeking to establish themselves as executives within the wine industry or within entrepreneurship within the wine industry. We take an organic approach to it. I feel like if it's good, for one, it's good for the next. So if I hear from the sisters, we're having problems with product and inventory, and again, this happened, they launched this, we relaunched it in 2020, right? So it's the height of the pandemic. And so I was literally hearing firsthand from them what were some of their challenges as it relates to keeping the doors open, whether or not to go to, online distribution, so on and so forth. So we pretty much applied that to women across the board and just said that, hey, these are some common areas in which women need support.
I love it. So I'm going to get a little personal. Okay. I hope you all don't mind.
I love it. I'm here for it.
How does it feel to be, because like we said, we didn't have a whole lot of examples. So you are the first you that little girls are seeing. How does that feel to be that, like to be some girl right now is dreaming to be you? What does that feel? And like, what kind of responsibility is taken in with that reality?
Wow. I don't know that I've fully digested that concept yet, to be honest, because we're in it, and so I feel like the work that we do now, we're taking arrows, to be honest, right? So anytime we walk into a room, we're taking all the heat in hopes that the next person who comes into that same room behind us doesn't have those same experiences. So it kind of feels like we're so entrenched in the process. I don't know that personally, like I've digested that I might become an example to young women. I hope to, for sure, but I don't think emotionally I've quite processed like what would that feel like, and what does that mean to me? And it's obviously very much a part of why we're doing what we're doing, but I haven't quite mentally or emotionally gotten to that space to be able to give you that answer per se, because we are. It feels like we're really in the trenches, to be honest. Like we're so deep into it, and we're working so hard to make sure that people are not kept out of these spaces. But I do hope that one day that some little girl somewhere does look and say, I want to do what those sisters did.
I love that. I actually want to jump in because I think, I don't want to do this work forever. I want to do it for now. And I want to build it so strong that somebody will come in after and take it to the next level. And I hope I've changed it enough that they see this as an option, because I grew up not knowing that philanthropy was an option. I would say it's the best job I never knew existed because I didn't understand philanthropy. I didn't understand entrepreneurship. I didn't understand nonprofit management. So I do feel, though, it is a weight. It is a weight, but not as heavy as the weight of the women who came before me, including my grandmother, Dorothy Ferguson, right, who worked in the front of a grocery store and was the first Black woman to do that, including, many other women who came before who had so much more to carry. But I'm just, I'm honored and I'm privileged. I may be a first or an only, but I will not be the last.
I love that. Robin, you brought up that reality around imposter syndrome, and how we no matter how big, other people think we are, and give us credit for, internally, we're we still are taking those arrows. What do you all do when you're feeling less than other people think you are? Right? When what we're feeling on the inside is less than what we're, the accolades that people are giving us.
I have an unconventional answer to that question.
I love it.
I actually don't have imposter syndrome because I felt like we haven't scratched the surface. So I know a lot of times we have awards and accolades and things, but in our minds, it's like there's so much more to do. It feels like we haven't really done that much, and we appreciate being recognized and admiration, but we know there's so much more to do. So I haven't, I don't think fully felt imposter syndrome necessarily. But we're motivated by what we see the potential of where we collectively all can be. And we have so far to go, to be honest. And that's the fuel, that gets us up every day and gets us to do the work that we do in our space, in the wine space, culturally, and with the She Can Fund.
That's real. I love that. Justine, you were talking earlier about and just piggybacking off this idea of like how we feel internally. And you were talking about some of the work, and you casually mentioned, being in refugee camps, as if that, but, in my head, there's a level of fear associated with going in places sometimes that, we're taking on something that actually can, has a physical. What do you do with that fear? How do you abandon, or do you abandon fear, trepidation, anything like that, when you're pushing forward and doing the incredible work?
It's such a good question. There's so much in there too, because there's so many emotions. It's not just fear that you have. I think in all the work that we're doing, when you're pushing bounds, there are the insecurities and a lot of emotions that come with all of it. So I feel like something that I lean on, and thinking about even the context of this panel, I was thinking it is the communities that I get to be a part of, meeting you, Nia, because of a group of women entrepreneurs from all over the country, getting to solve challenges with those groups and share our emotions and our journeys. And I think that has been one of the biggest things for me. And even looking back on the pandemic, I was really grateful that I created little pockets of communities. There were folks that I'd worked with for years and years, and we would create regular Zoom check-ins where we're doing like monthly check-ins, people that I didn't even know that well, but groups of women, groups of other entrepreneurs, and just to have those communities where I could feel safe to share in full transparency, like everything that I was going through. I think that really carried me through a lot.
I love that. And speaking of like curating communities, Agnes, let me tell you something. You are the curator of communities like nobody's business. Like even when I went to San Francisco, it was literally a random, offshoot trip. And she curated this incredible experience. I got to meet other women who are part of the program and the project. What does that mean to build something like that? Like, what is that? How does that feel to build it? What does it mean, and why is it necessary?
Well, I like to pride myself on saying I only know fly women. I only know fly. Robin's laughing because I say that all the time.
She does.
Regardless of your title, socioeconomic status, I don't care where we're at. We can be in San Francisco, the Fillmore. I could take you to an old woman's house who will make you the best upside down cake you ever ate in your life. True. We can go to New Orleans and we can go round by the second line, and they're the most fabulous group of people you'll ever meet in your life. Or we can entertain, a university president or, some type of magistrate. I only know fly people. I'm extremely intentional about spending my time with people who care about the condition of others around them, right? They don't have to be global leaders. But if you're a woman or a man who cares about your own household to the extent that you care about what books are at your child's school's library, right? That speaks volumes. It tells me who you are on the inside. So I trust people like that. So that's why when I have someone as fly as a Miss Nia Weeks fly into town, right? I could say, wait. Robin and I, we're doing this podcast. They're dope content creators. Come on by. Don't even worry about it. Well, don't even worry about it. Just show up, because I know that everyone that I surround myself with, they care about the next person. They care about humankind, right? And I think that in itself should be the mark. What should be the mark is what are you willing to do for those who you say you love and care for? And what are you willing to do for, that man or that woman who you see every day when you walk outside of your building? Do you ever stop and give them something to eat? Right? Do you ever, volunteer, and it doesn't have to be in lights? So that's why I think I'm able to curate these outside of professionally. Yes, I've worked at museums and done all of those great things, but I just really like fly people.
I love it. I love it. Also, y'all make me feel so good. I get I text my business partner right before this day. I was like, I'm so nervous about this panel because I'm a fan of all my friends. And I want to make sure that it goes well. And so, I appreciate it. Teresa, I want to piggyback off of what Agnes has said, because, when I tell that story about you taking my phone call, but it means a lot because it was, I didn't have a name at that time. I was just, I just had an idea and that I felt needed to exist in the world. And I was like, oh, wait, someone else agrees that they need to exist. And it's Teresa Younger and, and everything else. But why is it so important to invest in other people's ideas and dreams? And, what is the global benefit to us doing that?
Well, I mean, I think the reality, it's so interesting that you said, you called and I picked up, or I called and you picked up. I'm not sure how, even when I may have called you back. But one of the things I always think about that Agnes touched on, which is we make choices every day about how we're going to spend our time and our energy and where we're going, whose space we're going to be in. And if somebody makes an offer, like call me, and you don't, then it's incumbent on that other person to make sure that they're there. So I said, call me anytime, and you did. Right. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is if I ask you, hey, how are you? Then I need to stand for a minute and hear the response. Doesn't mean I'm responsible for fixing it. It just means that we are going to be in relationship. We are going to be in community. It's going to be authentic. And I think, in this global world that we're all in, that, it's easy to make the Zoom all it has the end of a relationship, as opposed to, and when can I see you, right? And Justine, where are you in Brooklyn, right? And Agnes and Robin, when will you be here, right? So for me, it's really about how are we being intentional, putting out what we can do and being authentic about it as often as we can be. But we need to be in relationship with each other. And, globally, we need to be in relationship with each other because we're fighting for a better world. Right. And as humans, we have an obligation to make that world better, not just for those of us in the United States or those of us on the continent of Africa or in New Zealand or in Europe. We have an obligation because we are all interconnected and we are siblings to each other. And when we understand that and we are willing to be in relationship with our siblings, it means we care and we trust and that we're authentic.
I love that. The authentism too, within this space, it's really beautiful. It's each one of you has such a beautiful way of displaying that. And one thing, and Robin, you and I are getting to know each other, but I'm also learning that you are also traversing in the building industry, which I am curious about what that means to diversify that portfolio, but diversify that portfolio in another space that's outside the box, where there's an influx of women of color. What does that mean to keep building in spaces that we're making headway?
Well, a huge milestone for us is that we purchased our first vineyard property in Napa this year. We actually took receipt of the keys to the property on Dr. Martin Luther King Day this year. And that's a first for us because wine as a product is capital intensive. Almost the entirety of our career as owners in the space, we haven't had commercial bank financing, we haven't had investors. And so we've built our business, on whatever we've sold. And so it's taken us a long time to be able to acquire our very first property, which we're about to harvest the grapes from that, I think, in about a week or so. So it'll be another milestone for us. And we're actually, I think, maybe the second Black-owned wine company, vineyard owner in Napa Valley. So it's very big. But with that property, comes a development that we're planning that's in conjunction with the fund, with the She Can Fund. So we're going to be developing property for our partnership with Southern University and other academic institutions. So it'll become a teaching property. We're doing planting projects. We're building labs. We're building winemaking facilities, and just going to have the property as a host for projects, for collaboration inside of business and academics through the fund. We have partnerships with the USDA, NRCS, multiple things that are going on. So it is a milestone to be able to to have land ownership, which is very important as women and as Black women, but also to be able to have that as a place to cultivate community and to foster professional development and academic resources. And as well, along with that, we're also looking at some within the Bay Area, having tasting rooms within the city that will be announcing in 2024. So it is a big change for us. It is a big step, property ownership, property development, and bridging what we've done to include a place for people to come and learn and experience and to commune together in spaces that are owned by us.
Nia, she's leaving something out. And she's not going to say it because she's modest and she's humble, and I love her for it. But sometimes we just need to say what it is. They signed for their property on Martin Luther King birthday, or day, rather. Less than a month later, a few weeks later, one of the women from She Can Thrive Sisterhood, yes, right, in which we have over 100 women in that community, to whom which we granted $25,000 worth of advertising credit to, sent an email. And she sent me an email and saying, hey, I've been out of the country. I've been in Africa. I have some monies. I just purchased some land. I would like to develop a vineyard, and so on and so forth. In the midst of going back and forth, it was a huge undertaking for the McBride sisters. Do you not know that? Because they really, sisterhood is sewn into the fabric of the company, right? And on a personal level, sisterhood is sewn into the fabric of our friendship. So all I did was simply text Robin and said, hey, we have a She Can Thrive sister who's going to be in California. She wants to know if she can fly into the San Francisco Bay Area to meet with you, to talk about vineyard management, so on and so forth. And in the midst of all of that busy schedule and this and that and this and that, she took the meeting with her to help her out, and to further assist. And hey, if you're looking to develop a vineyard, and she was very transparent. I'm saying all that to say that character is who you are when nobody's around, right? She didn't have to do that, right? And that's why I'm exceptionally proud. I've done a lot of work that I'm proud of. But I'm exceptionally proud about the work that we're doing here at the She Can Fund, because it is a sisterhood. Much to what Teresa just said, if you call on us at the fund, right? Don't know how you're going to get through on the wine company side, right? Because they're moving, right? But if you contact us through the fund, we really are intentional about setting aside time to make that connection and see how to further grow your business.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so we are coming at the end of the time. Also, like Agnes, thank you for lifting that because sometimes we don't give each other, ourselves our flowers. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is, and so it's.
Well, thank you, Agnes. I appreciate that. I just want to add really quickly because I know for a fact it's true for everybody that's here, but we make ourselves available. A big piece of the work that we do in the communities that we're building and the networks that we're creating is because we make sure that we make ourselves available. So when I meet somebody, and Agnes will speak to this, if I go into a room or an event, I'm coming out with 10 new best friends. Sure. I've cornered everybody and been like, what are you trying to do? Tell me, how can I help? Here's what I'm trying to do. And it stays with me. And when I say you can reach out to me at any time and I'll make myself available, that's a promise that I keep every time. And I think that's something that's very specific to women and women in our spaces, that we say what we mean and we honor that, and we make sure that we're in whatever way needed, mentorship, advice, connections, networking, whatever it is, that we're here to support and uplift each other.
I appreciate that. And as a recipient of that, grateful that you all do that. Okay, so we're coming to the end of time. So I have one last question for everybody. And this is across the board. Because what you all are describing is legacy work, right? Mm-hmm. What is the lasting legacy that you want to leave for just on this earth, in this space? What is the lasting legacy that you would like to leave? Start with you, Teresa.
Knew you were going to do that. I was like, go to Justine. I think what I want, I always think of this like, what do I want on my gravestone? She tried, and on my worst day, she was there for me.
Oh, girl, she tried to make people cry.
Right? I love that.
That's beautiful.
Agnes, so you're next.
Oh, lasting, that's so loaded. Lasting legacy. This is part of it. Again, the sisters and I met casually, and you talk to your girlfriends about workplace frustrations, and I was just like, I just wish that we would care more about our legacy as a people and build institutions. Not knowing that years later they would say, hey, about that legacy and philanthropy building you were talking about, why don't you come over here? So ultimately, the legacy that I would like to leave is that I was able to become my grandparents, both on both sides, Mississippi sharecroppers, my grandparents in Nigeria, their dreams personified.
I love that. Justine.
Such good answers. I think mine would be that I showed up. I showed up for my friends, my family, and thinking about even Agnes, how you have relationships with fly women, it's because you show up. Right. And so I think that's how we are building these beautiful networks, is because we're showing up in these relationships as our authentic selves. And I think I just want to be known as someone that always showed up for everyone that was in my community.
Yeah. Robin, thank you.
I think that we're proof that everyone has the right to be in spaces that they're passionate about and to be active in spaces that they're passionate about. And nobody has the ability to keep you out. And that you deserve to pursue your passions and to be happy, and that everything is possible.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that for each of you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for sharing your passion. Thank you for sharing your time. And thank you for sharing your friendship with me. This has been a true honor and a true blessing. These gems are going to not just last in the universe forever, but they're going to reside in my heart for a very long time. And the fact that you all said yes to the dress on a holiday for me has me humbled, grateful, and I cannot wait for the world to hear these gems, to understand what real collaboration looks like, what true hearts look like for women and girls across the world. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
song is for my mama, yeah. Esambo kichingori chimama, kugira ngo umenye ishimwe riri mu mutima wanje. Ni byinshi wakoze kugira ngo mbaho wabwiwe nabi na benshi yuzura umunabi. Imbaraga z'umutima yo zirutisa amaboko yo, ko wicaye mu ntebe y'ababiri uyuzura muri umwe. Yari ifite amaguru abiri wayibereye ukwa gatatu, yicaramo sinayirima. Ay, mama, I love you so much, so much, oh, mama. I love you so much, oh, mama. Beautiful is what we call you, mama. Mighty woman, warrior, blessed woman, yeah. Peaceful at the same time. You're a fighter, mama. You're a giver, not a receiver. Forgiver, tell me, mama, how you do that? How you do that? Can I get more? Bless my mama. Thank you for my mama. Oh, mama. Mama, I love you so much. So much. Oh, mama. I love you so much. So much. Thank you, Olúwa.
We have the pleasure and honor of having Dr. Suki joining us today. Dr. Suki is an award-winning doctor, best-selling author, and global speaker. Today, he's considered an authority on human potential and developing innovative strategies. He is a master at developing people through his neural integration and Activision techniques, touching the lives of hundreds of thousands worldwide, helping them heal, shatter their limits, and achieve extraordinary results in every area of their life. Dr. Suki today will be speaking to us about physical well-being and the interplay of physical and psychological well-being, a holistic approach. Hello, Dr. Suki. Welcome to the Power of Women Digital Conference. It's so great to have you with us today.
Awesome. It's great to be here, Ashley. So, when we talk about holistic health, the piece that we really come to is understanding that we are whole beings. I've literally spent the last 3 decades studying what I call the human nervous system. The human nervous system is the greatest technology on planet Earth. It controls and regulates every cell, every tissue, every organ, every system within your body. I want you to consider this for a moment. If you take the greatest minds, the greatest people, thought leaders that have ever walked the face of the planet, you put them in a single room and you ask them to create a single cell in a Petri dish. They cannot do it. It's too difficult to do it. We can replicate a cell, but we cannot create a single cell from a fresh start. The technology that lives within you your human nervous system, it creates tens and thousands of new cells every single day without your conscious awareness. That's how potent and powerful that you are. So what I've learned as a holistic healthcare practitioner, having the gift of working with real people, guiding and mentoring physicians all over the world, speaking on different stages, is that we haven't been taught, because we do not understand how to nurture, how to cultivate this intelligence deep within us. You see, the human nervous system is a learning technology. It wants to learn. It wants to grow. It wants to create new synaptic connections. It wants to go through neuroplasticity, neurogenesis to increase its complexity. As it increases its complexity, your mind, your body, your cells, your tissues, your organs, they adapt, they grow. And when that happens, we increase our perceptual lens of the world. You see, the human nervous system is our perception system. It is the system responsible for our consciousness. So with this beautiful technology, with this beautiful thing that we have around us, within us, why is it one would even experience physical symptoms, mental, emotional angst, or even a disconnect from their purpose and their intelligence and their life force? That's what I'm talking about, our physical, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual well-being. You see, the human nervous system, as it learns, as it grows, as it adapts, it changes like a little child that learns how to walk, how to talk, how to ride a bicycle. It creates a new neural network, a new neural program, and it has an unlimited capacity for that. Whenever we experience different things outside of our capacity within our nervous system's bandwidth, the nervous system says, I haven't learned, I haven't grown from this experience. I haven't fully processed and integrated this experience. I haven't created the new synaptic connections, neuroplasticity that this experience would give me. As a result, my cells, tissues, organs haven't grown, adapted, and I haven't taken an evolutionary step to expand my awareness and consciousness. So it holds on to that information. You see, the nervous system doesn't know the difference between past, between present, and future. In fact, something that happened to you 20 seconds ago, 20 minutes ago, 20 years ago, that you haven't fully processed and integrated, your nervous system will wake up today trying to process, trying to integrate, trying to move through by holding on to the biology of that original experience. You see, when that happens, and let's say it's a physical injury and there's cellular damage, well, you have low physicality. You can't move. You don't have energy physically. That is naturally connected to your mental state, what you focus on. It's naturally connected to your emotions. On the flip side, mentally, emotionally, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You haven't processed and integrated through that sleep cycle. You're not feeling well mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Naturally, you're not going to have the physical vitality to move and navigate through your day. You see, this is an opportunity. It's the opportunity for you to grow, to learn, to allow your nervous system to move through that. This process, it's not about silencing the symptoms of our physical well-being, our mental well-being, or emotional well-being. It is about connecting to what this intelligent organism, what your nervous system is screaming at you to experience, to ask you to go into that journey, go into that process to have that experience. The reality is that as we move through life, years turn into a decade, they turn into multiple decades, And when my experience working with hundreds and thousands of people, by the time people hit their mid 30s and mid 40s, they are simply running on an automated set of pre-programmed experiences, living in yesterday, not being present in this moment, certainly not creating a future based on all these abundant possibilities. Instead, being locked in the stress, in the trauma, and what I call the sympathetic neurological tones that are creating cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, that low-grade fight or flight response, preventing us from creating that great opportunity. On the flip side, when we listen, when we open up to that possibility, we open up that healing process through our nervous system, through our mind, through our body, allowing the intelligence and life force that flows through our nervous system, creating those tens and thousands of new cells every single day, something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to elevate your entire physiology. When you do that, you move out of that low-grade sympathetic tone into a parasympathetic state of high coherence. Your body naturally starts to release oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. Your perceptual lens opens up. We get into the physics of looking at the field around us to what's truly possible. This is when you move into creatorship. Creatorship for your physical health, for your mental well-being, for your emotional state, and also your soul and your inner being's ultimate journey to move through that process, to be there. To me, this is the ultimate journey of life, to grow, to evolve, to allow the essence of who you are through your intelligence, through your life force, through your nervous system, to fully experience life.
Dr. Suki, thank you so much for your insights and for educating us on how the human nervous system can really help us cultivate the deep intelligence that lies within our bodies, expanding our conscious awareness for overall well-being and high coherence. It was such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Hello, everyone. We hope that you all are enjoying the Power of Women Digital Conference. We want to hear from you and interact with you. We want your voice to be heard. And all you have to do is grab your phone, turn on your camera, and scan the QR code to participate and share your thoughts through our polling questions. And stay tuned, because later in the broadcast, we will have a digital town hall discussion on all the results. And I will let the speaker take it from here.
So now I have these 3 questions specifically for you. Ask yourself, what would I like to experience in my life? What emotions would emerge from this experience? what would your full sensory experience be?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm thrilled to introduce our next speaker, who is a bright point of light. She is an acclaimed spiritual mentor, author, and radio and TV personality, committed to bridging divides in society and building relationships between global influences. She is the director of the Washington, D.C. branch of the Brahma Kumaris, as well as the founder of the Brahma Kumari Meditation Museum. She's also the host of America Meditating Radio Show. She also serves as one of the evolutionary leaders in service to conscious evolution and was selected by Empower a Billion Women as one of the 100 most influential leaders of 2015. She serves on numerous advisory boards, including C Media Network, Epilogue Media, and Global Love Movement, to mention a few. She's the recipient of the President's Lifetime New National Community Service Award. And most of all, she is my beloved Dr. Sister Jenna. Sister Jenna, please welcome to the Power of Women Digital Conference.
Shanali, you are amazing. Do you know that? I don't think I've never been interviewed as a point of light. I love it.
You really are. You're such an important instrument. Oh my God, the things you do behind the scene, moving mountains.
I wish everyone knew there were points of lights, that there were these living energies that could make a massive difference in the world. But thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very important platform, POW, this digital conference, Power of Woman, Power of the World, Power of Wisdom, Power of the Word. How many times have I sat in front of a camera to speak my heart and soul to an audience with the intention that I just want us to be better people, to be grounded, to come from a place of deep spiritual well-being. Maybe it's because I wish it for myself. My journey of 30 years of spiritual practice, each day I keep learning so much more about myself through your eyes, through your voices, through your actions, through your behavior, through your non-action. In the world today, we're also learning a lot about ourselves. We're seeing what side of the fence are we going to feed? The one of algae, anger, lust, greed, attachment, ego, an acronym that I've used many, many times. Or do we serve the side of purity, peace, love, happiness, and truth? What side of the fence are you going to serve? Who are you? Which God are you serving? I'll invite you a minute or two to think about that. Which God are you serving? Both are important. I'm not inviting you to be Pollyanny. I'm not inviting you to be a complete saint today, but what energy do you serve the most? The one that has you completely out of balance, or the one that inspires you to get into balance? Sometimes the algae becomes a means of pushing you into your balance, into your understanding, and into your feeling, I need my emotional strength. I need to be emotionally clear. My mind should be my best friend, not my enemy. My neighbor should be my best friend, not my enemy. My environment should serve me, not show a lack or continue to burn or flood or throw winds in my face that I can't breathe. My finances should flow. My humanity should be better. What is it that we're doing? What God are we feeding? Algae, anger, lust, greed, attachment, ego, or peace, purity, joy, love, truth? What's the balance here? What energy is so deeply recorded in you that it's your nature? It's my nature to be good. It's my nature to create chaos. You might have a vision for your life, but if you put it at all into no action, you will have a life of chaos. Many times you look at the vision, the feelings, the thoughts, the ideas that they're trying to propel you into something better for yourself, but you do nothing for it. You just sit and you wait. Maybe you go as far as blaming, criticizing, judging the government, the environment, the people, the situations, my health, my well-being, my body. It's because of that I can't seem to find my peace or my freedom or my power. But there's a vision in you. It keeps tapping on the door of your conscience. It keeps telling you what's the right thing to do, but that other God, that algae, it has a way of pushing you back, pushing you down. It's where all of your past memories and emotions are stored. It's inside of you. It's a portal of memories. And you only remember those memories about the pain, the suffering, the hurt. Right before coming on to be with you now, I was speaking to a young lady. She comes in front of me and she says, he said he doesn't trust me. I says, why will you continue to play that record over and over and over again when you have heard another record of how good you are, how lovely you are, how courageous you are? And it just made me realize how sensitive we are, not only to words, but again to the gods that we serve. Which God are you serving? Algae? The minute someone says something negative about you, you hold on to it. You believe wholeheartedly in it. Your mind becomes crazy. Your words get crazy. Your body gets affected. You're not inspired to earn. You spend uselessly. Your environment is affected by the vibration that you're carrying. The society doesn't even know what to do with you because now you're useless because you can't even think positively for yourself. All you hear is the God of algae. That's all you invest in. At some point in time, you will reach a space in your mind where you can't take anymore. And you're just so out of balance. And the sign that you're out of balance is that your God of algae is who you feed. Despite the real God in you, your love, your peace, your purity, your truth, your joy, despite the fact that that God sits in you, wanting to be used, wanting to be served, wanting your attention of thoughts to find that balance. It's like right now, the algae is just all over you. And everywhere you turn, there's somebody making a negative comment, looking at you without value, judging you, wanting something more from you. How many people in the world have you met that don't want anything back from you. They just want to help. How many have you met like that lately? Are you one of them? You just want to do charity? In the Gita, it states that you should perform karmas and actions without the intent of what is the return for me. Can you send your pure wishes and good feelings towards humanity without the expectation that it should give you a return? I'm still working on it. The reason why I know I'm still working on it, I still have moments of sadness for the direction in which our world is going. And even though I know that it is the inevitable, and I know that change has to occur, and I know that we have to go through what we're going through to evolve, I still get sad. Maybe it's my own sadness that I know there's still a little bit of that algae God that I too serve very quietly. But what I know for sure, it definitely doesn't have as much power over me as the real God, the peace, the love, the purity, the joy, and the truth, the opposite to it. There's a character in the scriptures where this cobra comes, becomes a canopy of a protection over this God. And I wonder if this is our watershed moment for us to think in this conference. Am I willing to transform my algae into the real canopy of protection that not only do I need from my life, but my loved ones and my society and my community? I leave this challenge in your hands to think about the energy that you wish to serve, to ground yourself at this time, and to find your own emotional balance by thinking about the energy that you wish to serve the most. Think your truth, think your divinity, think your peace, or not. Thank you so much. All the very best, everyone. Take care.
Wow, which God are we serving? That's something for all of us to think about. I love hearing you speak, Sister Jen. I come from such a grounded place. And truly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with all of us today and being a part of the Power of Women Digital Conference. This is a question for us to think for the next few minutes, I think, or after the conference too. Thank you.
You're welcome. All the best.
We don't choose where we are born. We don't choose our mom and dad. We don't choose if we are rich or poor, or the color of the skin we have. Life's too short, there's no time to waste. Be the change you always wish you could make. So let's breathe in love and breathe out hate. If we spread our love like rings in the water, we can use our hearts to pay it forward. I was not done until we all become one world, one race, one color, human. We don't need to share the same life, to be sisters and brothers. Sisters and brothers. It's measured in the amount of love one heart can give to another.
Life's too short to discriminate. Be
the change you always wish you could make. So let's breathe in love and breathe out hate. If we spread our love like rings in the water, we can use our hearts to pay it forward. Our work's not done until we all become one world, one race, one color. Human. Love is love and it's always perfect. So don't you give up on it. 'Cause when it finds you, it's so worth it. It's never too late to start. If we spread our love like rings in the water, we can use our hearts to pay it forward. Our work's not done until we all become one world, one race, one color.
Hello, everyone. Our next guest is a 4-time Emmy-nominated, Grammy-winning composer who is also one of the board directors of SCAP and is a part of the executive committee of the Motion Pictures Academy and TV Academy. She's also the VP of Alliance for Film Composers. Sharon Farber, please welcome to the Power of Women Digital Conference.
Thank you, Shania, and thank you for being here. I'm very honored to be a part of this global and wonderful empowerment of women.
Thank you. You're so incredible. I'm so excited to have you here today as well, my dear Sharon. And I have some questions for you. You have been working in the film industry for a long time and in the concert realms as a composer for many years. This work is traditionally known as, the male profession. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Absolutely. Do you know that about 7% of all composers are women in the film industry? This is better than the 2% that we were. And it's last year we came to 5%, and now we are about 7 to 8%. So it is growing. It's growing better also in TV and in concert work. But as you can see, 7%, if we have 93% men and only 7% women, that means that there's still a lot of work to be done. I was very, very lucky to start my time here in Los Angeles and in Hollywood by winning the TV Academy internship. And after that, I was introduced to the pioneer of women composers, and her name was Shirley Walker. She was a wonderful composer, a wonderful human being, and she took me under her musical wings, and I started working in the business. And she really was very, very inspiring, and she showed me that although as a woman, and when I came to town, I think you can count us on one hand, it's not always easy. You can still do that. And today, as the vice president of the Alliance for Women Composers, we really try to encourage young composers, young women composers to pursue their dream and go forward for what they believe in, because it's still many parents still believe that A, you can't make any money from music, and B, this is not a profession for women and all these kind of things. But we prove them that is not the case, and I'm happy to see this grow in a very, very good and optimistic directions. In my experience, we all have had our share. I had one director, I was one woman in a group of 8, and he said something that he would never had he would never say to a man. I can't even remember what it was. It was in a recording session, the whole orchestra. He loved what I did. And so I had two choices, either to, to say nothing or to say something. If I did say something next to everybody, I would be considered a hysterical woman. And what am I doing a big deal out of that? So I took him to the side during the break and said, look, what you said was not cool. And you wouldn't have said that to a man. And he said, well, did I hurt your feelings? Kind of mocking me and said, see, you're doing it again. You chose me out of many composers because you loved what I do. And I'm giving you the best music and you love the music. Why would you do that? And then he got it and he said, you know what? I'm right. I'm very, very sorry. And it's never going to happen again. And it never did. But I'm strong, and I can stand up for myself. What I like to do is to inspire the next generation to stand for themselves when something like this happens and make sure that they are equipped with what to say back and how to say it in a way that is constructive and won't hurt them or even the person who said it, because sometimes it's just ignorance.
Absolutely. Wow, you're so brave. I love that. As part of something I love about you have a very strong personality that you really stand up for yourself, and it's very beautiful. And my next question, Sharon, do you think this is changing now, the attitude towards the female composers in Hollywood? Is it really changing? And if so, what is really contributing to this change?
I think it is changing. I think one of the main things that happened was the Me Too movement that started with the whole Harvey Weinstein, and then women got more and more and more encouraged to speak up, and that kind of created a wave of men look at themselves, including some of the people I worked with, and they hysterically contacted me and said, did I do anything wrong? Tell me if I wasn't, and men all of a sudden said, hey, maybe the way that it was until now is not right. And there was also a big interview with Maria Gies. Maria Gies was the one who decided to investigate this whole thing about women in the industry, and she basically almost sued the big studios, and the big studios had to look at themselves and the way they've been working, and this is part of what we're going to talk about in a minute, and said, you know what, we have to change. So all of a sudden, there were more opportunities for women. Again, it's still not it should be, but there are more opportunities. There are women now being nominated for Emmys and for Oscar. We only had 3 women ever winning an Oscar, and the Oscar has been going on for many, 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 many years. But we are, finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope that this will continue to grow, because it feels like the 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and again 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and we just have to continue building through constructive conversations and proving that we are as good as anyone else. I just finished a TV series that is all crazy action and thriller and suspense. And, it's not like women can only do romantic comedy or drama. No, we can do even the most ambitious music for any project.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about women storytelling. And that's actually one of my next questions for you. You have worked on several projects that deal with women's issues. How do you tell these important stories through the power of music? And can you share some of these projects? Because I know you have done many of them, including winning a Grammy for Women Warriors. So please share some with us.
So yes, somehow social issues come to my door many times. So I scored a film called Honor Diaries about women in certain cultures who want to be free. Excuse me. I scored Women Warriors, for example, was a wonderful project that 8 women composers were invited to score short videos about social issues. So I received the one about the women of Iran who do not want to wear the hijab, they want to feel the wind in their hair, and about the mothers, African American mothers who lost their sons or their daughters to guns and to murder. So, you know, and I had other issues. I wrote a concerto about a Holocaust survivor who was an amazing man. And I think that we have, as composers, we have such power under our hands to take a project and enhance its drama and enhance what the director wants to say. Because when you go to a film, you don't really, the music is an integral part of the movie. So you don't really think about the movie or the music, unless you're a film music fan, you don't really pay attention to it. But if you try to look at this movie without the music, you will see that the emotions stay behind. You know, it's like, where are the emotions? You see someone walking out in the dark. It can be very suspenseful. It can be very romantic. It could be very dramatic, or it could be even very comedic. Depends on the music that accompanies it. So we use these. We use the muse. First, we have a muse. When you watch a film and you start scoring it, is what does it give you to? Because everything in the film will determine the music. So it's the of course the acting, the dialogue, the interaction between the actors, the directions from the director, but even like, you know, the color of the movie. Is it more yellow? Is it taking place in a small place? There's so many things, and the music has really the power to make this happen. And one little thing, we don't have a lot of time. So, you know, I also wrote a piece of music about Daniel Pearl, who was a Jewish journalist who was murdered for being Jewish. And, you know, there were 4,000 people in the audience, and there was such a silence when the piece was done, because they didn't understand the lyrics. It was in Hebrew, but they felt it. And that's when I understood even more the power of music to make you feel. It's a huge and very powerful tool that we have to be very responsible when using it.
Absolutely. And you know what, Sharon, I think you said something very beautiful at the start of it. When you scored a piece for the women of Iran when they were not allowed to, and you're Israeli American.
Yes.
You know, the power of music is also telling stories. Also, it transcends boundaries, right? It transcends all these boundaries of race, religion, color,
exactly.
gender. You feel it in the heart.
I've done stuff like that. I have pieces that combine all the major faiths, and of course, you know, the film, a recent film of that I scored called "Brainwash Sex Camera Power."
I want to talk about it.
Let's talk about that.
I want to. You know, Sharon, I have to say, because I was going to tell you before I say that, I want to say something about it. Brainwash, you scored this movie, and I went to one of the screenings, a special screening you invited me to. You know, this movie that you scored changed, I feel like, the way I see movies. It really was one of those powerful movies with the music that you did, really brought in the effect. It really made you feel, oh my God, like this is what's happening in Hollywood. And can you please share about that? Because I think it's such a special movie, and you scored it so well. You did an incredible job. And this is one of those game-changing movies.
Yes. So the director is Nina Menkes, and she wanted to create something that will show how women are portrayed in movies. From the beginning of Hollywood, the camera angle, the body panning, all these things that we don't even as a woman, I was not aware of that. Only when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God. And she wanted music that will accompany this in a way that is really showing how this rules of Hollywood in cinema can affect this and the next generation, and how this can lead to the rape culture that we have, and unemployment and all this kind of things. So she used something we call temp track, which is temporary music, and she used Bernard Herrmann Vertigo. So I created something that is also very dark and very dramatic, suspenseful, because when you see this movie, you understand what a huge problem we have in Hollywood. And everyone who sees this movie is basically changed and understands that there are different better ways that we can portray women. And I encourage everybody to see it. It's on Amazon. And it's called Brainwashed Sex, Camera, Power, because this is exactly what we're talking about, how to empower women and not disempower women.
Yeah, and that's using storytelling. And that's exactly what Power of Women is doing. How can we use music, media in all formats, in films, and entertainment to really re-narrate this perspective we have of women, because it's reiterating. And one of the most surprising things I learned during that movie, that you scored, because I've been because of you, and I was like, oh wow, some of these directors don't even realize they're following the same pattern.
Exactly.
They don't even it.
And exactly, and as I said, even as a woman, I didn't realize how I was brainwashed to see all these things and not think that it's not okay. After that, I saw a film. It was about this couple, and he's in the army, and she's talking to him on the phone. She's far away. So the army man is standing, with his army uniform, and he's talking on the phone to her, and you can see the base and soldiers running. It's very masculine. And you see the other woman, his lover, they don't talk about anything, that is sexy or romantic. So she lies down on the bed, and she's with a t-shirt and her underwear. And the camera pans very, very, very slowly from the tip of her toes all the way, through her body until you see her lips. And it's like, why? Why? I mean, she's in bed. It's winter. It's freezing out. She will be covered in the blanket. I mean,
exactly.
And then I got it, this is just so normalized that we don't even pay attention to it until it's like, but there are ways to do it. Like the Barbie movie, for example, is a way to do it without sexualizing the woman. So there are ways to do it if you want. And look, as Nina says, because she says, I'm not the sex police. And yes, there are ways to show sex. Sex is part of our lives, and you want to show it sometimes, and it's important. But there are ways to do it that is not sexualizing it to that degree, So I think everybody should see this movie and look at movies in a different way.
And what's so exciting, because you are in Hollywood, you are a music composer that's in Hollywood, you get a very intimate look at how things are. And even this movie, it changed everybody's perspective, whoever saw this. And I would love for us to see the trailer as well, because it's the one you scored it. So I would love to see it.
Yes, it's my, and I was very happy because Nina Menkes was encouraging and open to score it with real orchestra, which is very wonderful because there's nothing like scoring real orchestra, like having real musicians, playing your music. It's just like the first time I ever conducted my own music. I remember I was doing this with my baton, and all the sound comes to me. It's like, oh my God, I was young, and it was so wonderful. And it's just really doing this. I feel extremely blessed to be doing what I do and to impact people's lives with what I do. So let's watch it.
The male gaze is definitely normalized in our society.
Almost all of us are familiar with the phrase, the objectification of women. What exactly is an object and what is a subject?
It's the stuff that I think you thought, and maybe I thought, well, everybody knows this. It's in the ether. And so to name it and to show it is something that I believe can change the world.
I personally see a very clear connection between this visual language of cinema, employment discrimination against women.
It's a visual medium, Kayla.
And an environment of pervasive sexual harassment, abuse, and assault.
In a visual culture such as ours, if the camera is predatory, then the culture is predatory as well.
This is the power of storytelling on the screen.
Women actors are often shot with fragmented body parts. Another thing that's very common is a female body on direct display for the audience without a specific person looking.
There's a saying that if people were to get rid of all the sexual predators, that there would be no film industry.
This cinematic visual language can really feel like the bedrock language of rape culture.
As Audre Lorde said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house.
So as you can see, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, there's so much for us as consumers of media to be aware of, so we can have a better society. And especially, I have a daughter, she's 12 years old, and I want her to live in a safe world and not have to look around her, shoulder all the time if there's someone who's trying to do something bad to her. So I think everyone should look at this amazing movie by Nina Menkes, who, it started Sundance and then Berlin. It won so many awards. I'm very, very proud to have been a part of this really groundbreaking film.
You're an incredible composer. I mean, you're groundbreaking anyway. You're breaking the barriers. Sharon, you have been doing that for a while, and I'm so inspired by the work you do. And like you said, I mean, I think last time we spoke, it was only 5% of the US's composers are women. And now I'm happy to hear it decreased since we last spoke.
Yes, yes. So
I
think it's going in the right direction.
I mean, with women like you taking the lead, I think we have hope. And with that said, I'm so happy you were here, and I know we have a little surprise that's waiting for us. And this surprise is actually really showcasing again what you just said. We are setting this for our generations and below, our next generation, and to see how everybody's a part of it, and especially young voices being a part of this movement, to really see how can we step into our greatness as women and having be a part of this, having men be a part of this movement. So yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about the press before we leave?
Yes, and women tend to always be very hard. We tend to be very hard on ourselves. We work and we raise kids and we do all the work, and we're still so hard on ourselves. So Diane, my awesome friend, Oscar winner Diane Warren, wrote this beautiful song called Applause, because sometimes we can just take a break and look at what we've done, and have a little bit of applause to ourselves for being strong, for being for going through so much. I mean, what we talked about, I went through so much in the industry, so many wonderful things, so many challenges, so many things that, are part of life and creation and career. And we don't stop to say, hey, you know what? Look at you. Good job. Not bad, you keep on going and you keep on going. So this is called Applause, written by Diane Warren. And it is sung by my daughter, who's 12. And I try to empower her and tell her how powerful she is. But not only that she's powerful, but she's also kind. And she has to look around and see if others need help. And if she's in position to provide it help, always to do that. So I try to raise her with values of self-empowerment, but also looking around and making sure that she's helping others. And this is, I think, the best song for all of us women out here, to give some applause to yourself, because you are amazing and strong, and we are making a difference in this industry and in this world. And I'm honored to be part of this change. Thank you for having me, Shanali.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm very honored. I love having you always. And I'm excited to hear this song and have everybody hear how amazing Eden is.
She's 12 years old. And she's the best.
Hi, I'm Eden, and I'm Sharon's daughter, and I'm so honored to be here to sing our friend Diane Warren's empowering Oscar-nominated song, Applause. Recognize who you are. Sometimes I know it's so hard, but you shine. You're a supernova superstar. They can't stop you. You were born unstoppable. Dare to know that you're remarkable. Stand up, raise your hands up, yeah. Give yourself some applause, you deserve it. Give yourself some respect, cause you've earned it. Give yourself some love, cause you're worth it. You're worth it, yeah, hell yeah. Let them know you know it. Go and show you own it. You're bold, you're bad, you're strong. So give yourself some applause, applause, applause. Give yourself some. Realize how far you've come. This time you won't be undone. You're on fire. It's your time to know your time has come. Yeah, believe it. You're the queen, you wear the crown. Feel it. Take it in and take a bow. Stand up, raise your hands up, yeah. Give yourself some applause, you deserve it. Give yourself some respect, cause you've earned it. Give yourself some love, cause you're worth it. You're worth it, yeah, hell yeah. Let them know you know it. Go and show you own it. You're bold, you're bad, you're strong. So give yourself some applause, applause, applause. Give yourself some. Pat yourself on the back. Somehow you found the faith to make it through to another day. Times got tough, but somehow you survived. You kept your head high. Give yourself some applause, you deserve it. Give yourself some respect, cause you've earned it. Give yourself some love. Yeah, hell yeah. Let us know you know it. Show you all the Give yourself some applause, applause, applause. Give yourself some applause, you deserve it. You're worth it. Give yourself some respect, cause you've earned it. Give yourself some love, cause you're worth it.
The theme of Power of Women embodies collaboration through edutainment across diasporas, through the collectives alliances that support positive global change.
I could